Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for The Mandalorian. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Yo, did y'all see that Chapter 16 of The Mandalorian? My goodness. Let me ask that again. Did you see the episode? Did you see the greatest episode that has ever landed on Star Wars anything? Oh my gosh. This right here had to have been probably the best chunk of Star Wars I've ever seen, from even the movies. I don't like, just this was amazing. Easily the best episode of the entire season. It just amazes me that this show continues to deliver just episode after episode after episode. And this particular episode, I mean, my goodness, talk about the drama and a hell of a lot of action and the cameo, the surprise. Okay, we need to talk about this. The Slave One ship is chasing down an Imperial ship that is carrying Dr. Pershing. Boba Fett fires an ion cannon and disables the ship in place. Mando and his crew board the ship, but the pilot takes Dr. Pershing hostage. Rather than bargaining to be spared, one of the pilots kills the other co-pilot and begins to taunt Cara Dune about the destruction of her planet Alderaan. She wasn't trying to hear any of it and shot the pilot in his face. Well, piece of advice: don't make fun of people's planets that got blown up. By the way, for any of you that might have forgotten, the planet that she's talking about was the same planet that got destroyed by the Death Star in Star Wars A New Hope. It was also the home planet of Princess Leia. Boba Fett and Mando head to a nearby planet and go to the local cantina to find Bo-Katan and Cossack Reeves for help. Mando tells her that Moff Gideon has got the kid, but she dismisses it because she doesn't believe that they can find him. Boba is ready to just leave, and Bo-Katan quips that he's not even a Mandalorian. Tensions rise as some insults are thrown back and forth, and Boba and Koska end up fighting until Bo-Katan orders them to stop. Mando said that they had Gideon's coordinates, so she agreed to help them so that she can get the Darksaber back and retake Mandalore. She also asked Mando to help them out when they go back to Mandalore to fight for the planet. Yo, when I first saw this fight, I was just sitting here like, yo, please stop fighting. Stop this Mando on Mando violence. Then to see that Mandalorian racism from Bo-Katan, just because Boba Fett is a clone, for shame. Now, I did like the sparring that ended up happening, though, because I just think that was just a little bit of a reinforcement to show people that the Mandalorians are a bunch of, like, warriors. That's their culture. That things can always just pop off at any moment for any reason. And that's just how that culture gets down. By the way, did you see how old girl was using that jetpack? Man, I was sitting there like, yeah, okay, I definitely want a jetpack now. But what this scene also does is it pretty much establishes Bo-Katan's primary objective, which is to get the Darksaber back. Now, again, we still have yet to learn the exact situation or circumstances as to how she ended up losing the Darksaber to Moff Gideon. So hopefully that'll be revealed sometime soon, and if it's not, I do have a theory about it, and I'll share that with you later. The team goes over a strategy to approach Moff Gideon. Dr. Pershing informs them that it's not just the regular stormtroopers on board, but it's dark troopers that are of the third generation models. They identify where the dark troopers are held and where Grogu is being held captive in the brig. They get their plan together and give everyone their assignments. Bo-Katan restates to the team that Moff Gideon is exclusively hers to take down. But Cara Dune chimes in to say that he needs to be captured due to his ISB knowledge, which would serve as a great value to the New Republic. While taking command of the Imperial ship they obtained earlier, the team pretends to be under attack from the Slave One ship. They initiate a distress call to have Moff Gideon's Imperial ship open up the docks immediately for boarding. Gideon commands for TIE fighters to intercept them. However, none of that matters as the team manages to board Gideon's ship and Boba Fett destroys those two TIE fighters and quickly jumps into hyperspace to escape. As the team shoots their way to the bridge, Gideon gives the command to release the Dark Troopers. Mando makes his way to the brig to go rescue Grogu. Okay, at this point, I'm starting to get hype, right? Like, once we start seeing all these starships, going against each other, doing the gunfight, I just thought, first of all, it was shot very well. I know the tension started to rise, the action started to build up, and honestly, straight up honestly, I really kind of wished we could have seen this in theaters. Just the way it was shot, I was just sitting here watching this like, oh my gosh, this feels like a Star Wars movie and not just like a random, show. And then we get the command to activate the Dark Troopers. And look, the Dark Troopers, they already look like they were no joke. And I know later on we're going to find out they really are no joke. But I don't know about you, but at this point, I'm sitting at the edge of my seat because I know things are about to get hot quick. As the Dark Troopers begin to power up, Mando only barely manages to use Dr. Pershing's code cylinder to close the door. However, one Dark Trooper manages to get through. The trooper begins to toss Mando about and starts using his head as a punching bag. Mando's weapons appear to be useless against the android until Mando uses his Beskar staff to destroy it. He opens up the exterior door and sends the other Dark Troopers flying into space. As the team makes it to the bridge, Bo-Katan realizes that Gideon is not there as they expected. Mando, on the other hand, reaches the brig and finds out that Gideon is there holding the Darksaber over Grogu. Gideon demands for Mando to give up his blaster and explains that the Darksaber gives someone claim over Mandalore. Mando doesn't care about any of that, and he only wants the kid. Gideon says that he only wanted to study the blood from the child to help bring back order to the galaxy. Under the guise of a false compromise, Gideon attacks Mando as he reaches for Grogu. The two enter into combat, but soon after, Mando comes out victorious. What I say, them Dark Troopers? Nothing to play with. They kind of reminded me of like jacked up Terminators, from the Schwarzenegger movies. But I really like how they are legit threats, they're not just, like the dumb stormtroopers we've always seen. And that Dark Trooper was giving Mando all the business. When I tell you he is so lucky he got that Beskar armor upgrade, because if this was season 1 and he had ran up against one of these things, Mando would have been done. And his helmet was straight eating those punches. Now, this encounter with Moff Gideon, however, it's gotten me thinking. Gideon knows a little bit too much, too often. It doesn't seem like he's force sensitive or anything, but he knows all about Mando's weapons, and it seems like he already knew most of their plans too. I get the impression that he's getting help. And I know he used to be ISB, which is like Intergalactic Security Bureau or something like that. Or maybe, no, I think it's Imperial Security Bureau. So I guess it's like their version of the FBI or something. So, he knows a lot of information. But even then, he still seems to know a little bit too much. So this kind of begs the question, is Moff Gideon getting help maybe from one of Mando's allies? Keep in mind that he technically does rule Mandalore with the Darksaber. Back in Clone Wars and Rebels, there have even been Mandalorians that would work with the Empire too. Could the Armorer be working with Gideon? Or could it be Greef, who's more two-faced than we thought? After all, it was one of his repairmen that bugged Mando's ship. So why do you think Moff Gideon is always so knowledgeable and at least appears to be a step ahead most times? Anyway, when Moff Gideon and Mando started fighting, the moment Mando won, I was like, yes, this is it. Mando is now officially the Mandalorian. He's won the Darksaber. He rules Mandalore. And then once Moff Gideon said like, oh, this is going to be interesting, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about Bo-Katan. Yeah, this is going to be awkward. Mando enters the bridge with Grogu and a shackled up Gideon. Bo-Katan looks saltier than a saltine as she sees the Darksaber in Mando's hand. Gideon laughs and says that Katan wanted the Darksaber, but it can only be taken through the defeat of battle. Mando defeated Gideon, so technically he has the rightful claim to the throne of Mandalore. Even if and when Mando tries to surrender the blade or yield it to Bo-Katan, she cannot accept the power of the Darksaber because what matters the most is the story around it. Well, as expected, things definitely got awkward here. But I kind of think it got awkward, more than just the obvious reason of Bo-Katan not winning the blade from Moff Gideon. But now what I find to be more awkward is the fact that now all of a sudden she can't accept this blade. If you watch Star Wars, Clone Wars, or Rebels, you know that Katan initially rejected taking the Darksaber from Sabine Wren, but had zero problem taking it from her the second time around. So I'm wondering, can she like not accept the saber, without going through battle against Mando? Can she not accept it because of tradition? Or is it because maybe some of the other Mandalorian factions and families, maybe they never accepted her as the true ruler of Mandalore because the way she originally got the Darksaber from Sabine Wren was not through battle either. So maybe they kind of look at her as like a fake ruler. Kind of reminds me of like, fraternities and sororities, how like some people have to go through like the hazing process or whatever, while you have other people that are like paper, they just apply and they get in, but they don't go through like the real traditions. Maybe, and this is just my theory, maybe Moff Gideon showed up because again, Mandalore and the Empire had like a, certain relationship for a little bit. Maybe he showed up, exposed the fact that, maybe she's an illegitimate ruler, and maybe the story is the primary reason why she lost the blade to Moff Gideon in the first place. Again, we still have not seen how she lost the blade to him, so maybe that's something they'll show us in the future seasons. Right now, however, this is putting Bo-Katan in a very awkward situation because keep in mind, she's asking Mando to come and help her, liberate Mandalore so that she can rule. But Mando's like got the better claim to be the ruler. So what's she gonna do? She gonna try and fight Mando, or she gonna give up that power? Mando doesn't want to be ruler, and usually that's a good sign because those type of rulers are the ones that prevail. So we'll just have to wait and see how that works itself out. Later, an alarm goes off as the Dark Troopers have returned back to the ship. They begin to approach the bridge, but the team close the blast doors. The Dark Troopers, however, begin pounding away, making their way closer to opening the bridge. Just then, another alarm sounds as a lone X-Wing fighter flies past the cruiser ship. The Dark Troopers turn around and approach a hooded figure that is just demolishing the Dark Troopers with a lightsaber. While everyone is distracted, Gideon picks up a hidden blaster and shoots Bo-Katan, knocking her to the ground. He tries to fire at Grogu, but Mando dives in to protect him from the blast. As Gideon was about to take his own life, Dune knocks him out Nate Robinson style. The hooded figure approaches the door, and it's none other than the legendary Jedi Luke Skywalker. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If you've ever watched anything I've done in the past with Star Wars, just videos, breakdowns, commentary, reviews, whatever, I've been saying for a long time that this franchise relies on the Skywalkers way too much. Kind of like a bit of a crutch. But you know what? Let me tell you something. Forget all that. I don't care. None of that matters anymore. That scene right there was so freaking dope. I mean, Luke came in this sucker like his daddy in Rogue One. Just coming through, just slice, poke, slice. Force crush. This man crushed the Dark Trooper like he was a can of pop. When I saw the X-Wing fighter, I was like, nope, it's done. That's Luke. It's over. It's done. And then they showed the one black glove like, he was Michael Jackson or something. And then once you saw like the green saber come up, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe y'all went there. I mean, I was watching this thing at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was trying so hard not to just straight up scream and yell with excitement. Now, even though I have wanted Star Wars to move on as a franchise from the Skywalkers, not because I'm hating on them, it's just that I think that there are more stories that could be told. I will say that I have always wanted to hear more stories of the younger Luke after Return of the Jedi. You know, that 30-year gap. I know they explored much of his story in the comics, but I wanted to see much of that on the screen instead. I mean, this is when Luke was like at the peak of his powers and being on the run from the Empire. And you know what? I gotta also say, when Luke was taking his hood off for a quick second there, I thought Disney was about to do the impossible. I thought that what they were about to do was actually fulfill yet another fan request or fan casting. I thought they was about to show us Sebastian Stan as the young Luke Skywalker, because you know a lot of people have been saying like, yo, Sebastian Stan could look like and play a young Luke Skywalker, but they opted for the CGI route. To me, that right there was a very smart choice, mainly because, you know, we're living in like this time in our culture where like everyone's got to be the first. Everyone's got to, you know, post the clickbait. You got to get the clicks or whatever. So, you know, just the mere rumor or casting of a certain actor or whoever, you know, the surprise is like gone. It's ruined, right? And even myself, like in my last theory video about like which Jedi is going to come to Grogu's call, I did say that Luke Skywalker was like the most likely candidate to show up. I kind of thought that there were more interesting people to show up, but because I didn't see how they would be able to pull it off, you know. But hey, they managed to do it. And you know what? Kudos to them. Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, man, y'all coming through in the clutch. This was perfect because with the CGI, they could just surprise us and nobody would know. You could just have like some regular average person show up, you know, and do all the digital work behind the scenes. And that is, I just really, really appreciate the fact that, you know, this was not spoiled for us. And it was something that we all could enjoy. So hopefully for the people that are late on The Mandalorian, man, I feel bad for them because you know the internet's going to spoil this. And I mean, like, this also just kind of makes me think about, like, what would have happened if we had never known that Boba Fett was going to show up? What would have happened if we had never known that Rosario Dawson was never cast as Ahsoka and they just popped up on the show? Man, we would have lost our collective internet minds. So, yeah, once again, kudos to Lucasfilm, Disney for pulling that off. That was a brilliant move. As Luke enters the bridge, Mando brings Grogu over to him. Luke calls over to Grogu, but Grogu is looking back at Mando, apparently seeking his permission to leave. Luke pledges his life in protecting Grogu and says that he'll be safe until he can master his abilities. Mando picks up Grogu and tells him to go with Luke and that they will meet again. Grogu reaches for his helmet and Mando removes it, showing him his face for the very first time, along with everyone else in the room too. He tells Grogu not to be afraid and puts him down. R2 then enters the room. Luke picks up Grogu and walks away as Mando watches them leave with the tears in his eyes. You know what? It's a little misty in here, excuse me. I saw this moment coming. Knew this was gonna happen. You know, the one thing I didn't know was going to happen was that they would actually part ways. You know, like, I really thought that, you know, we knew that there was going to be a moment where, you know, maybe Mando finds the actual species or maybe he gives them to a Jedi. But we knew that there was going to be an emotional moment where these two were going to have to part ways. And I was sitting here thinking like, man, come on now, this the Grogu Mando show. Like, you can't break them up. And they broke them up. I'm like, what are y'all, what's happening? You know, and I gotta say, this had to have been the most emotional moment in the franchise. I'm trying to think of like, if there was any other deeply emotional and dramatic moments in Star Wars. Like, I mean, God, just, it was a lot, you know, and Grogu touching his face and Mando just looking at, I mean, you know, it's like you giving up your kid and, gut wrenching. I mean, did you feel it? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just overly sensitive. I'm just thinking about if I had to like give up one of my kids or something. I don't know if I could have done that. Like, yo, you go train, but I'm gonna come and watch. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to just be like, all right, man, you go with this dude with the special powers. But that was certainly a very, very touching moment. And I love the fact that, it is going to be Luke to be the one to be training him. I mean, again, Luke does have that connection with Yoda, so there's always that. And now I want to say, you know what? Look, now that Star Wars is kind of doing like these things that were probably the most likely outcomes, I'm starting to bet now that we will see Grogu meet Yoda at this point. I'm just saying, like, all the likely scenarios are just falling in place, and I think that's what's going to end up happening now. But I will say that because of Grogu being part of Luke's school of younglings, I guess, to build a Jedi temple or whatever, now that he's going to go training with Luke, I have an interesting theory about what this is going to mean for the future later, but I gotta get my thoughts together, and I'll put that in another video for you. But you know what, like, just kind of looking on the bright side of things, because I was sitting here looking at the end of this episode like, yo, I know y'all not about to end this like this, like, come on. But on the bright side, now I see why they gave the green light to season 3 for The Mandalorian like months before season 2 even came out. It's clear that, The Mandalorian isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And my guess is that season 3 is probably going to be more about Mando going with Bo-Katan and them to fight for Mandalore. So I think we're probably going, that's like the next step for them. Because, at this point, he does kind of owe them, like, hey, you helped me get the kid back, so the least I can do is go help you fight this war for Mandalore. But of course, and again, we still have that awkward situation about the whole Darksaber, so we'll have to see how that plays out. I think Bo-Katan is going to have to make a real hard decision, and where she goes, nobody knows. I also think that if they end up going to Mandalore and all that, I don't think that, this show is going to just throw away their number one moneymaker with Grogu, right? Like, I want to say that maybe, like, we'll get, like, 3-4 episodes, what is it? I think it's coming next year, December 21st or something like that, 2021. But I think what we'll get is a little bit more Mandalorian. It'll just be Mando on his adventures. We won't hear from Grogu. And the way I'm seeing it is, of course, they're going to be in like some big war, some big battle. I can sense maybe Mando being captured, or he'll be like in some real trouble, life-threatening or whatever. And Grogu is going to be just like Luke, stop his training and be like, yo, I got to go help my pops out real quick. I got to dip. And I got the feeling that, Grogu's going to come into season 3 and make like this triumphant rescue and appearance. And we're all going to just blow our minds because we, we'll be thinking about Mando at that point. But Grogu's going to come in. He going to have some new abilities because of all his training. And this is going to be fire. I think that'll set up a beautiful comeback. What do you think? After the credits, we see Boba Fett return to Tatooine and head to Jabba the Hutt's old palace. Bib Fortuna gets shot dead by the bounty hunter. Boba Fett knocks his body over and sits on the throne, and Shan takes a swig of some cool, refreshing blue Kool-Aid. Man, I'm so glad I usually stay and watch the credits after. Usually it's because I'll be in shock or whatever, and I'll be like, dang, but anyway. So the Book of Boba Fett is coming December 2021. Look, I'm 110% ready for that spinoff show. Let's go. Come on. This is good. I like that they're almost kind of taking the Marvel formula, of like the connected universe or whatever, and really tying this all together in a nice organic way. I mean, we already saw how much of a goon that Boba Fett can be by himself. So, I mean, does this make him the king of the underworld now? I don't know where this story is going to go, but hey, if you got some ideas, please let me know. Anyway, again, let me know. What did you think about this episode? I still personally think it has to be one of the best ones in the entire Star Wars franchise. I mean, this felt like a serious steroid boost of Star Wars fandom injected into my veins. And don't forget that we also have an Ahsoka Tano and Rangers of the New Republic spinoff show coming out. And both of those shows tie into The Mandalorian. That's all building up to one big climactic event. I mean, there are so many possibilities that can work out here. So you tell me, what are you looking forward to the most? Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I always appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.